Okay. So today we wanted to share with you an exciting project that we've been working on for, gosh, a little more than a year, I guess. A little sidetracked or slowed down by the pandemic, but not derailed. So we're excited about that. And what I'm going to do is to give you a sense of how this is going to go. I'm going to share with you the idea that we have here of the search tool, where it came from, and then I'm going to invite our team to share some of their perspective and what they worked on, and then we'll show you a demonstration of how this works. At the end, we'll do a small ask that is actually just trying to help you out and the functionality of the search tool. And then we'll open up for any questions or feedback that you'll have to make this go as smooth as possible and be as effective as possible for the work that you all are doing now. So the very, very basic background is back in, Mindy, give me a nod, 2018. I want to make sure I have the year right. 2018, we got a grant from ASPPH, which is Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health, through a CDC subgrant to design a networking tool. Basically, our sense and experience, as well as what we've heard from a lot of organizations around here, is that there's a lot of siloing that happens. And so we were trying to address how to draw organizations together, how to make them familiar with each other and help collaborate with each other. And so from there, we gathered a group of Mindy and I, who are from Source. If you don't know us, the Community Engagement Center for the Schools of Public Health, Nursing, and Medicine at Johns Hopkins. Mindy is our director and I'm the associate director. We gathered some student researchers to help lead a lot of our work. And we got Marie Goodson and Zaid Douglas here, who are some leaders from local organizations who offered great insight to us. And we gathered together and worked to develop both a community survey, community organization survey, and then that data is what informs this search tool. And we've tried to make it as flexible and comprehensive as possible. We'll show it to you in just a minute. But essentially, it's a way of you searching for the interventions or programs or populations that you work with, and finding out who else is working with those people or on those things that hopefully help you collaborate in better ways going forward. So that's the general vision that we had. I'm going to invite Maria and Zaid to share a little bit about why they joined the team and the intentions and goals that they had with helping on this project. So Maria, please feel free to share.
Right. Hi, everybody. I'm Maria. This project has been extremely fun, first and foremost. So it's really cool to be here with all of you today and actually showing it to people in real life. That's pretty awesome. So like Tyler said, well, I don't know if you said, I work at a nonprofit in the city called Thread. What Thread does is we engage a huge community of volunteers from all walks of life, all across Baltimore and now beyond, making sure that everyone in our community is okay. We focus on connecting volunteers from the community with young people from Baltimore City between the ages of 14 when they're in freshman in high school for 10 years of their life. So we have a lot of different people in our community who need a lot of different things. And we come together to make sure everyone's got what they need. So this project in particular was super interesting to me because Thread in particular, we need all sorts of connections. When we live in this incredible city, which has been lovingly called Smaltmore for a reason. Like you go to the coffee shop in the before times, or you go outside to the coffee shop now, and you run into people from all over the place. But what I've discovered living here and working in nonprofits is you might see the same people in all sorts of places all the time, but you don't know what everyone's doing. And yeah, you can ask and have conversations, and that's what we all do, and that's great. But I was wondering, like, I've always wondered if there could be a way that you could search for what relationships already exist and what work is already happening in the city in order to just make those connections easier and make it just easier to connect with people and see what everyone's doing in order to help all of us get what we need for our organizations. Because I have a feeling there are a lot more partnerships out there ready to be had that we don't even know we should be asking about. So that's where I'm coming from with this project. I'll pass it over to Zaid, who will talk a little bit more about her perspective.
And real quick before Zaid jumps in, if y'all that are on the phone could be on mute, we were trying to mute people, but we can't do it from our end. So if y'all don't mind putting yourselves on mute, that would be helpful. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Zaid Douglas. I am the former Assistant Director of ERICA, which is Episcopal Refugee Immigrant Center Alliance. It is a ministry of the Cathedral of the Incarnation, and it's located a stone's throw away from Hopkins Homewood campus. And ERICA provides a wide array of supports to those who are in various points of the path to immigration, whether the individual is a newly arrived refugee or they're a newly sworn in citizen who initially arrived here in the US seeking asylum. And these supports can range anywhere from like emergency rent payment to pairing the participant with a community navigator who helps them navigate, say, through social services, surviving public transportation, I would say pre-COVID. And ERICA is small and mighty. We have part-time staff, but we also have a large network of volunteers. And ERICA prides itself on providing compassionate listening to tailor that support necessary to meet each participant's unique needs. So 2 years ago, I attended the Source Social Justice Intensive, which I think served as kind of a bit of an impetus for this activity. It's also where I met Maria. And as Maria alluded to with Small to More, you know, when you bring together various actors engaged in community development, you realize like one, wow, there's so many organizations doing X, Y, and Z, and that's a really great thing. But then you also realize too, wow, there's so many organizations doing X, Y, and Z, and neither one is aware of the other. So when you have an organization like ERICA that's really dependent on its volunteers, it's an even further struggle when you have an organization as small as ERICA working to connect with other like-minded organizations where they can pitch in and support where ERICA is unable to. So when Maria and I were charged with, I would say, serving as the community grounded ears and eyes for this activity, I looked at this as an opportunity that hopefully at the end of the day, we would have a tool that would be really useful, but also would be one that would not cause a lot of stress in using it. And for me, I had hoped for a tool that, you know, in some way, shape, or form, captured all the various services and types of programming that were, you know, in high demand from our side, whether it was education, housing, employment, identified volunteer opportunities. As ERICA, as I mentioned, is very dependent on volunteers, but also we're always looking to expand. And most importantly, I would say, like, you know, just finding folks to partner with. And I see this tool as doing such, where it's bringing together organizations of different sizes and resources, but also person power. And so no longer would I see like myself in my past life, but also like former colleagues and volunteers spending hours, whether, you know, they're searching through the internet or they're on the phone, you know, trying to find, say, a job training provider that's in or close to Waverly that can help a participant who's in the midst of finding a new job. It just saves an immense amount of time for staff and volunteers, and it also allows for, I think, attention to be diverted elsewhere. And, you know, just thinking of all this in our new normal, COVID-19 was the great equalizer. And now more than ever, whether it's regardless of your age, your sex, race, your citizenship status, income, everyone is limited in how they make contact and what they can access. And I see this tool as helping organizations like really bridge that gap where they can find those outlets or those means to connect, whether it's with humans, like financial, monies, or time to support their efforts to keep doing what they do best. And so that said, I just say that, you know, you all are a future of our tool. It's with your vision, the challenges you face, what gains you have that we had in mind when we're sorting through, say, search fields or required information fields to be captured in this tool. Because at the end of the day, if it's not useful to you, it's not going to be useful to anyone. And that said, I'm going to turn this over to Jazlyn so she can talk more about the process that we engaged in.
Hi everyone, I'm Jazlyn. I'm not from Baltimore, I'm from Los Angeles. So Tyler actually hired me as soon as I got admitted into John Hopkins School of Nursing background. I also have a and I also used to do social marketing. So my role was to pretty much see how your community-based organizations represent yourself to the public and what their general understanding was based off of your marketing tools, whether it was Facebook or your websites or things of that nature. So that was like phase one for me. And then upon doing that, I partnered with the other research assistant, Annika, and we kind of bridged our works together where she was looking more so at the research aspect of it. And we kind of came up with ways to design the questions for the survey and database so that based off of what you guys as organizations was offering, whether it was from a research perspective or a social perspective, based off of what we did together, we were able to come up with these questions for the database to help you guys better answer what it is that your CBOs offer. And hopefully, based off of that, you guys would have been able to provide detailed answers and make a simple database search. And nice to meet everyone.
Thanks for sharing that, Jazlyn. So essentially, in designing this survey, we let Maria and Zaid help guide us with their perspectives. We took a look at how CBOs in Baltimore represent themselves in the work that they're doing. That's what Jazlyn did, as she was saying. Annika, who unfortunately couldn't join us today, but she is a public health student who looked at the organizational literature, the public health literature to make sure that this was speaking to the sort of larger issues that we all as organizations working for a better city are a part of. And then we put those things together to try and make them effective. And so, and I'll reiterate this at the end and give you the link, but this is where we need your help to make this successful. We're not going through and trying to guess at, based on what we can see, what your organizations are doing or who they're serving. Instead, we've made this survey and opened public access so that anybody can fill out their information to put down exactly what it is that you are doing and who you are working with. We take that information, we review it and validate it, and then we add that to the database. And so really the survey is the part that feeds the database, and we know that organizations are changing. So we have something set up. So every 6 months or so, that's twice a year, you can update it. You can update it more frequently, but we'll send you a reminder. It just says, oh, hey, we now offer this kind of programming. Or we discontinued this because it's not a problem anymore, or we didn't have resources or whatever. And so we can keep that sort of as accurate as possible so that the networking is still effective. And then, that all goes into the search tool, which is the real thing. And without further ado, we're going to show you what this looks like and how it works. I'm going to invite Reed to share his screen. He is a computer science student here at Hopkins. He's done a tremendous job of writing all of the code to make this actually work. So we're grateful to have him on our team. He's also the guy, if you have any questions about your information privacy, about how we ensure that privacy and aren't sharing this information beyond what you give us in the survey to be able to share. And it's all at the organizational level. So in hopes of making strong connections. So here it is, here's our search tool. It has some instructions. It links to the survey. If you come to the search tool and haven't done the survey yet, you can get straight to it from there. And this will guide you through all the questions that we have, which are one-to-one practically for the options that you can search for in the search tool. So Reed, I'm going to have you jump back to the tool and scroll down just a bit. The way that we've organized this is in large sections here that tie into public health practice as well as the sort of everyday work of organizations. And so we'll have, for example, why don't we pop into location, Reed? or population served, that works. So location, you can see, you know, if you're looking for folks only in the city or in surrounding areas, as well as the ways in which you can get connected with them. So we have enrollment processes here. This is the sort of very basic information and trying to see just who else is out there, right? That's an easy way of searching for that. Another common one we assume is going to be populations served based on what we've heard from our focus groups, from organizations. And so we'll show you what this looks like. If you're looking for a specific population, you can search by, thanks Reed, search by neighborhood. If you're serving a specific neighborhood, if you're located in a specific neighborhood, and see who your neighbors are, organizational neighbors are. Another one is, for example, we can search by age and take a look at school-age children, for example, who is serving those, and just do a quick search on that. And what'll happen is we'll pop up for a specific neighborhood. Why don't we get rid of that, Reed? Pop up and we get the number of organizations who are serving school-age students. I say school-age, it's really 5 to 12, which is why I don't want to misrepresent Thread while Maria's on the call, who also serve high school students, but not at this young of age. And so that's one way of doing that very easily, right? But we can make these searches a lot more complex, and we'll show you what these landing pages look like for each of these search results real quick before we show you a more complex search. What we tried to do is gather the most relevant information based on what you give us in the survey. So we have an opportunity for your mission to be represented, as well as contact info. And you can make that as specific or general as you like. You can see here, intersection of change just includes their volunteer coordinator as the access point. And that, rotates as their volunteer coordinators move on every so often, right? And so you get to keep that permanent email if you'd like, or you can make it your own. We also have a map to show where y'all are, and a little farther down, this is an exciting piece that I'll get to in a little bit more detail when we show you another site, but we have an opportunity for you to list the networks that you already have in your current partners. And if you are looking for new active partnerships, you can list that as well. Or say we're sort of at capacity, but we still want to provide you with information, and we'll say we're not looking for partnerships if that's where you are currently. And finally, taking a look at the ways in which the organization is doing their programming. And so they have focus areas here on the left of the types of programming they have, and then it gets even more specific farther on down. The way that we organize these, and you'll see all 5 of them represented here, these are what we call social determinants of health. I'm sure you know this phrase, but this is linked all the way to the WHO and the way that they organize interventions at community level. And so all of our organizations have some kind of relation to some of these, right? Or one of these or all of these. And so it's a way of trying to figure out what programming is being done and how you can link up with organizations that are doing similar services like this. So Reed, why don't we go back to a search and we'll show you a more complex one. I'll let Reed go through this. He planned one that I think will show off a few more of the ways that you can do searching. So Reed, take us through what you're going to do here.
Sure. Hi, my name is Reed. Like Dr. Derreth said, I am an undergraduate at Homewood, and it's just been an honor to use my computer science skills to work with these public health and community experts here at Source to hopefully help all of you. So, for example, one specific search that could be very relevant right now could be that perhaps you want to focus on housing, because obviously the pandemic has created a major housing crisis, and you'd like to get some good information on organizations around the city that do great work on housing. So you could obviously you could search by neighborhood, or we get even more into the searching. We have one of our social determinants of health being neighborhood and built environment, and here we have many subcategories that can help you learn about very, very specific housing programs around the city. So, for example, if there's a big worry about housing security, you could look at many of these different options, or choose whichever ones that you think are most important to you. Neighborhood stabilization, similar results. And again, the search gets very, very specific, right? So, and that's what I think is one of the really, really great appeals of this website. Not only is it very, very specific, but it's very, very specific to Baltimore specifically. So we really wanted to hyper-focus this as a tool for all of you. So if you can see, we have all these tags generated, and these tags kind of help you see what your search was, right? And of course, you can delete tags if you want to refine your search and see things and see how your search results change. And just like you would expect, using your browser's back button can restore your last tags. And another thing, since we started out small, we wanted to be rather inclusive with our search results. And as we grow larger, we will probably modify this. But for right now, we wanted to be as inclusive as possible, meaning that we want to show you a great many CBOs that are available. So another really great way to refine these, especially in these earlier stages, is to do a relevance search, which will actually see what this actually does is it resorts the search results based on the number of tags that the specific CBO matched, for example. In this particular case, we have 2 organizations that really, really match this search. So if we take a look at Men and Family Center, for example, we go to a similar landing page with all the pertinent information that they provided us. And again, the other really, really great appeal too is about every 6 months or so, we'll be reaching out to Men and Family Center and everyone else who's contributed information so they can update this information, right? You know, obviously, especially in these times, organizations are going through a lot of volatility, a lot of hardship. So the ability to be able to update your information and not just put it in a point of time and have this be outdated the second you submit is very, very helpful, I think. And of course, you don't have to wait 6 months to update. You can update as soon as you're ready, and the links will always be available. And the other great feature, again, if you can see the list of current partners, a great appeal is we search through the list of partners, and if the list of partners, or if that specific partner has already submitted data to this website, we create a link and we jump right into there.
Yeah, thanks, Reed, for showing that. So as this expands, we'll be able to link more and more organizations. Reginald, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm about to mute myself.
Oh, okay. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I did want to highlight that because I think it's great as our networks build to be able to sort of follow the trail of who is connected with whom as we get more folks to do this survey and take part in this database. Reed jumped through it quickly. He worked really hard to design this relevancy structure, which I think is actually really important to being able to be one, both very specific, and 2, really flexible at the same time. And so we're capturing a wide net of organizations, but it's one way of organizing to see who fits really well without excluding, which is against our aims, right? Without excluding organizations that you might be able to connect with down the road. Say, for example, that you're already partners with Men and Families and Project Place. You can jump through and find the next most relevant pretty easily. So this is our tool. I want to make sure that we have time to get your feedback and your thoughts and your questions. I will do this for you. I'm going to open up the chat and I'm going to encourage you all and try and, like I said, not take up the full hour so that if you haven't, you can take a little bit extra of the time that you've blocked in your calendars to just go ahead and do the survey while we have it. I'll post a link for you right there for you to get into it. You'll be able to access the search tool on our source website. It's on our homepage right underneath that community box. It says CBO Search Tool if you ever want to find it. But if you want to bookmark the page for yourself right now, there's also the link for the search tool. That's about all I have. I hope that this is helpful to you. I'm excited to hear what y'all think about this search tool. And again, this is completely public and open. So as you find it useful and as you complete the surveys yourself, please pass this around as much as possible. This is the way that it's actually going to work, is that organizations sign up and take part in this. We'll continue to do our own pushes for this. And I know it's tough to find time, but if you can find a spare 20 minutes and encourage other folks that it's a valuable 20 minutes to spend in getting this done, then we'll have a permanent sort of useful site to connect folks with each other and to help the communities that we are all supporting even better as they come with questions that maybe we don't know quite how to answer, or things that you as organizations don't do, but still want to direct to other places that are doing good work. As you know, all of our team has already shared. So with that, I'll pass it all to you all and open it up for questions and comments before we close out, and I give you time to do that survey right now. Any thoughts or questions?
So I'll ask a question because I think it's something that's come up when we've talked with some other community partners about this process overall. And I think the response is really helpful in understanding the multiple purposes of having this database. Some folks have asked, like, well, how is this different from like 211, where I can call and find out some resources in Baltimore? You want to talk about, anyone on the team, feel free to talk about some of the added benefits to the tool and the partnership piece, because it is different.
Yes, yeah, thanks, Mindy. So 211 is, like Mindy said, it's a helpline, but it's very focused on individual services. So a person can call and say, I need this, and they say, go talk to these folks over here. You can do that with our search tool. It's not exclusive of that, but its main intention is to connect at an organizational level. And so what we're really providing is a view of what's helpful for organizations to see in the work that they're doing, and partnerships that they can make at a much broader level than just an individual service. And so the intention is that you as leaders at your organization can take a look at that and say, we notice that our community needs this sort of thing and we don't quite have capacity, but we really need to partner on it. Is there somebody out there who's doing this? Let's take a look. Or very broadly speaking, hey, who's in our neighborhood? Because we're not sure that we have a great view of that. We're new to this area, we moved locations, whatever else it might be. Let's really connect and try and build community level work between organizations. And that can turn into, shared grants, which, is a big draw for funders these days. It can turn into a loosely based network where you direct folks to different organizations and you can really consolidate and focus your efforts. It's a way of doing organizational planning and building in a way that 211 just can't provide that sort of access or planning because they're not intended to.
Hey everyone, this is Travis Wise with the Pratt Center of Maryland. I had a few questions. You mentioned that early in the call that this project was linked to some new funding initiatives. How long is that funding initiative going to be happening? And what's the intention with the database after that funding ends?
So the funding was for us to be able to build the tool. That ends pretty soon, actually at the end of the year, because we have built it. Now it's just a maintenance, and we have taken that on as an administrative part of what we're doing at Source. So we'll continue to make that run. Reed has done a really good job of making most of that sort of automatic so that we don't have to do a whole lot except validate what comes in. So it will run without an end term. We don't need additional funding for that. We may seek additional funding to understand what sort of networks are happening in the city so that we can, provide connections in better ways. But that will sort of run alongside of what already exists. So this will be here.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Other thoughts or questions? Are there needs that are not being met? Go ahead, Travis.
I tend to talk a lot.
That's all right.
But no, I wanted to be sure. So this portal to capture all the resources within Baltimore, is it Baltimore and Baltimore County?
So it's open. Organizations, if they're only serving in Baltimore County, won't be restricted from that. It's intended for the city and our city population. That's who we serve. And that's where we are trying to draw networks most. But, the organizations don't necessarily work on strict lines. And so even if they're based in the county, they may serve folks in the city and vice versa. So we're trying to hold that pretty loosely.
Okay. That was another one that came to mind. How long has the portal been up and running? Or is this
just a couple of months, which is why you see relatively small numbers so far. This is
How many
our
organizations
first
do you have
sort of.
so far?
I'm sorry?
How many organizations do you have so far?
So this has only been open to the focus groups. We've not actually done a public opening yet. So it's just 15 organizations. This is our first sort of public. It's ready to go. We're ready to handle the capacity and all the rest. So this is our first way of saying, please do this and pass it around to networks. So we're hoping that over the next month it increases dramatically. But of course, we need our partners to do that. And we have just given them the green light to say, yes, please pass it around. So we'll see how that increases over the next month.
All right, thank you so much.
Yep.
I have a question just about the partnerships. So with filling out the form and submitting information, do you have guidelines for what determines a partnership, or how is that just whoever the community-based organization puts on there, or do you have kind of guidelines for, kind of what constitutes a partnership? I'm just thinking about, for example, at Esperanza, there may be any number of organizations where we would refer some of our clients, but those might not be very formal relationships, and they may not even be as aware that we are sending people to them. So if you could give a little clarity, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've tried to hold loosely to that because we know that a lot of this works informally, especially for the kind of networking that you're talking about. So if your organization counts them as partners and you're going to speak of them to the populations that you're serving as an organization that you work with or that something like that, and you would want to be able to post that publicly, that you work with them or at least refer to them, go ahead. We're trying to make it as sort of specific to your organization as possible, keeping in mind that that organization might see that and they say, oh, they've noted us as a partner. If you feel comfortable with that, great, go ahead. If you don't, leave it off.
Thanks.
That's a really good question in general as well, and something I've thought about a lot too, because Thread, we partner with a lot of places, a lot of different orgs in a lot of different ways. So I'm wondering if it would be helpful or useful to have like a partnership level indication. Might be too complicated, not sure. Just the first thing that pops to mind, like, do you have an MOU? Is it informal? And maybe it could just be as simple as that, because that could be good. That could be interesting to search as well when you're using the tool to see like, oh, this place has a lot of MOU formal partnerships. That's cool to know. Maybe that's not the kind of partnership I'm looking for. I'm looking for something a little more informal. But this place over here, they have a mixed bag of both. So they seem open to all sorts of different kinds of partnerships. So it's a really good question.
Thanks for those thoughts, Maria. As you can see, we try to be flexible with how we can make this a living search tool, right? And make it functional for everybody as it grows and develops. Any other thoughts or questions? Things you're hoping that this does and you're not sure if it does? All right, I'm going to do one more thing.
One more question,
And
sorry.
Go ahead.
Given that it's new and you have a nice handful of partners, what's your strategic plan in making sure that this gets to folks, that folks use it actively? What's your rollout for it?
Yeah, so, we have a network of 100 partners that we will sort of continue to remind about this, which is our first level of invitation, as it were. And so we'll invite all of our partners to do that survey. And we have a structure at Source where we have faculty liaisons who work with, a couple of dozen partners specifically and contact them. And so we'll do contact with the folks that we liaise with to ensure we try and get a sort of high percent turnout from our partners. And we've had, standing relationships with all of them for, in some cases, 15 years. And so strong relationships to rely on to get some buy-in from those folks. And then from there, as it becomes effective, right, we're hoping that, with 100, searchable organizations, that the search tool becomes pretty relevant for folks. And that's an access point in and of itself. Hey, this is actually a useful thing. Let me add my stuff to it. And we hope that that sort of stands. And then, of course, the secondary invitation is all of our partners reaching their networks, because they work with organizations that aren't part of our partner network. And so being able to expand beyond that, as Maria was saying, right? Thread is one of our partners, but I know that we don't partner with all the folks that they do. And so being able to spread it from that point and really get buy-in from the folks who are using it. Because what it is, right, is something that if you've contributed your work to something that you want to be effective for drawing relationships, then the more that you push it out to your networks, the more effective it becomes, because the more organizations we have to contribute their information and become searchable themselves. And so as we do that, and we'll continue to do that over the next months and year to try and make that as robust as possible, y'all know that there are tons of organizations in the city. By some measures, there are over 3,000. So we've got plenty of folks to tap into and try and push this out where we can. And of course, it rests on our public website and a pretty accessible point. And so it's easy to track and be able to find that as well.
I appreciate the answer.
Just before Travis asked that question, I posted my contact info. There's my email right there that you can take, and feel free to ask any questions as they come up, or share any concerns or hopes for what this can become as it reaches more partners and as more folks get their info into it. Other than that, we're excited for y'all to join us in this. We hope that you'll become some ambassadors to this work and share this with your networks as you find it useful and valuable. This is truly, I mean, we're talking about networking here and building strong ties to support our city. And we're rolling this out with the same intentions, right? We can't do this alone, and we need to work together to make this something that is useful and effective. And so we hope that you'll join us in that and become strong partners in that process as we work to make this sustainable. And if we can do anything to make that easier for you, let us know. For example, if you would like the language that we use to push this out as a search tool and survey, we're happy to share that so that you can have a sort of preset email to send to your partners and networks. That's fine. Contact me about that and I'll share that, immediately with you. And anything else that we can do. And you can share my contact info if folks have questions that you can't answer. And with the last few minutes here, I do hope that you'll take some time to complete that survey and help make it into something even better than it is today. That's all we've got for you. Thanks for joining us today.
I had one quick question, Tyler, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you say that you posted the survey in the chat? I don't know if other people
There's a link to
have
it.
received it, but maybe it's just my chat box, but I don't know if other people have received it.
I actually don't see it either.
Yeah, I didn't in your information didn't.
Oh, you know what I'm doing? Sorry.
I realized he posted it to me privately. So it's not
I
everyone.
did.
Like, oh, it's right there.
We were setting up things with Mindy beforehand and I never switched to the everyone.
Great.
So there you
Thank you.
go.
Now
There's the
it's coming through.
survey
Thank you.
and there are 2 links there, survey, and then the one right below it is the search tool link.
Wonderful.
And the info I also posted only to Mindy. Here is my email. Sorry about that, y'all. So
Me too. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that's okay. The survey there is that JHSPH Qualtrics form, the one right below it, the source.jhu, that's the search tool landing page, and that will take you right to what we showed you today. And then finally, my contact info right there, tyler.derreth@jhu.edu. Make a note of all of that, cut and paste if you want, save it somewhere on your computer or phone, and please reach out anytime. And the way that you can get to all of this, it's all linked together. So if you don't have a chance to capture these URLs, you can just search for our website, source.jhu.edu, pretty easy. And on that landing page, you'll see a link that says CBO Search Tool. You can click right into that. And that will take you there. And like we showed you, the survey is linked to the search tool. So you can get to both things pretty easily. My contact info will also be on our website. So if you lose that, you can get it again too. Thanks for asking that, Nora. All right, now that you have the info, I hope you'll do that survey. Are there any final questions here? Happy to answer those. If you don't have any other questions and you just want to work on that survey, feel free to drop off and go ahead and do that. I will stick around and answer any questions if there are any lingering ones. Thanks, team, for all being here. Getting this going. Let me stop the recording.